they were moaning. Hands at your heart. Feet close or together. It's nice, nicely done, Kate. Snuck them in. Breathing through your nose if you can. Allow movement because flow is why we're here. Sense of flow or flowingness, fluidity. And that, because the subject is yoga, means everywhere. In our breath, in our body, and in the mind. Flow is everywhere. It's everywhere if it's anywhere. That's the rule. It's everywhere if it's anywhere. Just check everything's good on that screen. Just going to move that a little bit. So taking deep breaths, natural breaths, honest breaths. Raise your arms up from your hip joints, top of the outer thighs. So an honest person will really investigate that, really investigate lifting up from the hip joints, top of the outer thighs. And then movement, because we want everything to come together, because the subject is called yoga. So that means union, doesn't it? It means coming together. So as you move left or right, you're looking to integrate, to bring together various fibers. And not just fibers, obviously fibers, yes, but also breath and also mind. And that happens when you give something to gather around, when we've got something to gather around. Press your feet, raise your fingers on the inhale. On the exhale, bend ankles, knees, and hips. It's Utkatta. Utkatta means squatting. And you can play with it. You can move up or down or left or right or any other movement that helps investigative awareness. Then standing up, take a big circle, hands back to the heart. Let me hear you take a deep breath. Or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9. And keep going with those deep breaths. So the breath is everything. That's a bit of a catchphrase, I suppose. In yoga, breath is everything. So just letting it flow, letting it come and go naturally. Raise your arms up again from the hip joints. So feel the honesty of that from the hip joints. Light tone in the tongue. Hi, Kate. How are you? Oh, great. Me too. Very well. Thank you for asking. Bend ankles, knees, and hips, if you don't mind. And move up and down, left and right. Anything that creates a sense of coming together. And it's investigative. You know, this isn't about, do I look right? You know, looking at others. No, you don't need to do that. Hey. Inhale, stand up, big circle, hands to heart, deep breaths. So the breath starts moving now by itself. This is starting to sort of circulate energy. We can talk about it in terms of blood. We can talk about it in terms of lymph. We can talk about it in terms of prana, aka energy. Let's do a third. Raise up. Again, search for integration on every level. So finding fibers of the back that can be drawn in. And sometimes if you're too foot forward, then the body becomes less visible. So you have to investigate, look for softness, look for breath, incorporation, look for flow, especially in the neck. I think the neck is an area where we often lack flow. Press your feet, raise your fingers, inhale, exhale, bending ankles, knees, and hips. Utkatta. You can feel the calcaneus tendons, that's the calf muscle tendons. You can feel your breath. You can do anything you want with your arms as long as it conduces to flow. Palms can be in, palms can be out, arms can be bent, arms can be straight, arms can be oscillating between any of those options. And then stand up again. Big circle, hands to heart. Deep breaths, jaw soft, eyes soft, brain soft, throat soft. Step towards the short end of your mat. Let's face that way. Step the length of your foot away from the end of the mat. The length of your foot away from the end of your mat. The end that's near that side. So yeah, very good. And then raise your arms. Lightly tone the tummy investigatively. So lightly, or every word I use in yoga is carefully chosen. Many of the words I use outside of yoga are haphazard and random, but inside yoga, they're intentional. Inhale, exhale, fold over the top of the front thighs, hands flat to the floor, probably means bend the knees, doesn't it? This time of day, we don't want the back to feel dull, aching, or painful. Because the hamstring muscles attached to your pelvis, and because the pelvis releases how the back's going to release, sometimes massaging the hamstrings through a bit of movement can help them to release. So it's unlikely that many will have straight legs, but just an instruction for anyone who does, perhaps moving your feet or moving your lifting your heels or lifting your toes. That might help to start generating the release we need to feel. If your back feels tight and your knees are bent, you might bend them a little bit more, because we definitely don't want any dullness, aching, or pain sustained in the back. We don't want that. We're going to step back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's the down face dog. We can do that whenever we're ready. And really press your palms into the mat, really kind of massage them in like a cat massages your brand new woolen trousers to a state of ruination. Here we're massaging the mat, and for the same purpose as the cat pads its paws. It can't really settle, unfortunately, for our clothing and furniture. It can't really settle without a good old padding, it seems. Cats do that. I think actually they might have scent glands in their paws. Anyway, you don't have scent glands in your paws, but you can settle by padding your hands with the intention to really merge with the mat. Molecules of your hands merging with the molecules of the mat. Repetition of action is how we make that successful. Bring your shoulders forwards. If you need to, take your hands a little wider and position yourself just above your shoulders, just above your wrists. Now, if your wrists have got any problems, this doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't do this. In fact, I would say in 3/4 of cases, wrist problems are actually alleviated through facing up to them and stretching in these kinds of ways. But if it's very, very strong, you can always do the pose on your forearms. Come down to the very popular with almost no people, Chaturanga Dandasana. So you're hovering the body above the floor. Hovering, and then push up to head up dog, it's called. Head up dog, where nothing's on the floor except the hands and feet, and you're arching the back. So nothing's on the floor except the hands and feet. The thighs are not on the floor, pelvis not on the floor, and you're arching your back. Good job, you're doing a great job. Lift your chest. If you find it difficult, may I suggest grimacing? Okay, bum up, push back, take a deep breath, take 2, 3, 4 or more. Really enjoy and appreciate the depth of your breath, the naturalness of your breath, and the way that the breath is circulating and churning energy, so that where there are any areas that we catch or get caught, the breath begins to stir those caught areas out. Bring the hand that's furthest from me towards me, so it's in the middle of the two hands, and then turn towards me on the side of your foot. If you want a little bit of extra help, use your other leg behind you. You can also do this on your forearm if you want, or kneeling. There's several variations. If you know a variation you're comfortable with, please feel free. Raising the top arm. Good, I'm glad you got the white striped black t-shirt thing, you two. Memo. Yeah, you didn't get the memo, did you, in your row? Oh, in front, yeah, we've got the memo, some of us. And then coming down again, down to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take a few deep breaths. Either enjoy it or mentally complain. It's up to you. Sometimes a good old mental complaint can be quite pleasant. Bring the other hand into the midline of the two hands. So this time, of course, you'll be facing the other direction. Again, there are variations of this, including one leg behind, including one knee on the floor, including even raising the top leg and holding it with your fingers, middle finger and thumb, and raising the leg up. That's another variation. Gets you out the house, I suppose. Keep breathing into it. Well done. Come back down to your Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take deep breaths. Pad your paws into a deeper weave into the mat. So take those deep breaths. Express those deep breaths. The idea of yoga is to come out of the thinking about life and being in this direct flow. We often say returning to the source, returning to the womb, returning to the mother in Sanskrit. These are terms we use quite commonly. Come down to sitting in a kneeling position. Please feel free to put a block between the heels and buttocks and sit up tall. One hand on top of the other. So any knee problems, put a block between the heels and buttocks. Take 3, 4, 5 deep breaths or so. Let the bum relax, let the shoulders relax. Let the breath be expressive, natural, and honest. Keep in touch with the breath. The most important thing is you keep in touch with the breath. So that's a skill, because the thing that makes us get out of touch with the breath is habits. The primary habits are thinking about this or thinking about that, reaching out, it's called in Sanskrit, upadana, which means reaching out, but literally translates as fuel, like fuel for a fire or fuel for a car or whatever, fuel. Now release your hands and you can lay on your back. Yay, hooray, Jim. Lay on your back when you're ready. Hands under your head as if you're on holiday. And you chose, for your holiday, you chose one big room shared with lots of people you've never met before in a cold February in Brighton. Unusual choice. But anyway, we are on holiday. It's the weekend. And the Buddhist Center Shrine Room, I always think of as a sort of holiday from attachments to ideas about yourself. There you go. There's a holiday. Lift up your feet when you're ready. And feel free to play. So that might mean flexing in any way you want, wagging your tail, for example, moving your knees. You don't, ordinarily in life, we're filled with doubt in certain situations. So situations we're not familiar with, we just go to doubt. Is this okay? Is that okay? In yoga, you don't have to go to doubt. In fact, doubt precludes knowing, and knowing excludes doubt. What do I mean by that? What we need to know is this moment. Doubt makes you think that you need to know something else, something later, or something before. So you reach out of this moment and don't know it. So if you let go of doubt, take deep breaths, move in ways that are doubt-free, that are relaxed. The Yoga Sutra says you should be relaxed when you practice. Then the knowing of the now just is. Right? The now is not a thing that you can go, right, now is like X, Y, Z. Now can only be known by surrender to it. Okay? You can only know it directly, pratyaksha in Sanskrit. Now lift up your head and look towards your Nabha chakra. That's your navel center. And breathe. So we can look in 2 ways with our normal sort of optic functions. We can look at the area roughly corresponding to where our navel might be or is. I think everyone's got one. But we can also look inside the energetic area corresponding to the navel. And so this is the Nabha chakra, the navel center. And feel that as a sort of living feeling, breathing feeling, direct feeling, not a feeling of something you've got to get hold of, something you've got to be able to describe, but something you know directly. And actually, it's impossible to describe anything in an accurate way. For someone to really know, they have to experience it directly. Even the taste of a mango, which is the classical example. You can describe it, you can say it's sweet, a bit perfumey, a bit like a peach, but better, blah, blah, blah. But if you've never tried one, you won't know until you have. Now bring your head down slowly, toes only to the floor, toes only, tonely, and breathe through your nose if you can. Let the heels come down, lower back soft. Release your hands from behind your head, raise your arms straight up. Lift your feet up, raise your legs in a sort of homage to Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis. We're laying on our backs, like an insect, sorry, without the terrifying sort of, existential, profound fear of the book if you've read it. Anyway, when you're ready, opposites. So opposite leg and opposite arm move away from each other. Imagine that they're connected by a strong piece of elastic that you're actually stretching as they move, which means when you desist from the stretching, they sort of recoil, the elastic recoils, and they come back together. And then similarly, on the other side. Really try your best to imagine you're stretching a strong piece of elastic between your hand and foot. And again, they recoil. Please keep calm. Let's do it one more time each side. Really get your best imaginal modality kicked in. So you're stretching elastic. You're really stretching that elastic. And it recoils. Last time, last side. Connect the elastic and stretch it. Really stretch it. And it recoils when you're ready. Breathe easy. You might want to wag your tail. Let's bring our arms side to side, wave from side to side. Like the kind of motion I do with my arms when I'm listening to a beautiful ballad, say by Gary Barlow at home. I'm putting on my Gary Barlow collection, and I'm waving my arm side to side to one of his marvelous and tear-inducing ballads. And as the arms continue over the head, some of you know that my mum constantly insists that I'm like Gary Barlow. She says, "You're like Gary Barlow, Jamie." Of course, she calls me Jamie. And I say, "Oh, is that right, Mum?" Anyway, and that's usually the end of that conversation at home. Legs move down towards the floor. Again, feel that you're taking time, that you're keeping the lower back close to the floor. We're coming all the way down. It's your own time, and you must keep the lower back intimate. And once you land, please melt. Let your elbows bend, let your legs fall away from one another. And breathe deep, breathe deep. So just melting, 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 melting. So melting means everything. When we talk in yoga, we're talking in universals. We're talking about everything. Bend your legs, place your feet on the floor. Just scoot the buttocks under to make the back feel longer. Take a deep breath in and out when you're ready. Take a few of those deep, deep breaths. And then raise up the leg closest to me and just play with the foot, dorsiplantar. Obviously, when I say closest to me and furthest to me, I'm talking to the roomers, not the zoomers. It may apply to the zoomers, but you're all in all sorts of places and positions when you're zooming in. Heel in, toes out. Cross that leg over the other one. My preference is to go just above the outer ankle. But other people, I've heard one person, someone I like and trust, although he's notoriously an evil man, who likes to go onto the ankle. I won't say Pablo's name out loud, but plunge through the gap. But you'll know, an evil man, you'll probably thought of Pablo. Anyway. Plunge through the gap, interlace around your far shin. If you can't, so lift the foot that's on the floor. That's it, you got it. And go through the gap and then reach round. You got it. But the other arm, your right arm, through the gap. You got it. Yes, you got it. And then you can let your head come back down, preferably onto a block, placed there by a friend. You can let your head go down. There you go. If you want, you don't have to have the blocks, just if your head or if your neck feels tight, it's useful. Have a little bit of a roll around. See if you can find some sensations that are wordless. So many things are wordless, aren't they? They express through sound, vocal sound, but not necessarily through words. So if something's really delicious, people tend to express that first through expressive sounds, and what it's like. People say that, something's really nice. Right? And then maybe, they might say, well, I very nice amount of salt and pepper, blah, 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 whatever they say. But then normally it's just, you can't really describe it. So you go, and maybe nod a bit and frown a bit. So that's what we're looking for here. Sensations that are, ums, ahs, oohs. And this is returning that which belongs to everything back to everything. We often say back to the mother, because everything comes out of the same shared field. Scientists know it's true. Biologists know it's true. Particle physicists know it's true. Everything's interdependent. Astrophysicists know it's true. But feeling it directly, that's liberation. It's what the Buddha taught. Feel interdependence directly, that's liberation. Okay, release, place your feet. Let's hear a deep breath from everybody. There you go. Let's take a few. So there's a real sense of trust here and now, because trust is the opposite to doubt, isn't it? And trust is what allows us to be here and now. It's easy because it's obvious that what we need to know is this moment. It's obvious that this moment is interdependent. And it's obvious that you'll miss this moment if you're reaching out to an imagined somewhere else, like the future, or like the past, or like concepts and ideas about yourself in the present. Raise up the other leg. We'll call it leg B today. And you can do any movements you like to kind of stimulate awakeness, so circling, half circling, bending, extending. It's all about your breath, because it's very easy to daydream. I'm fully aware that occasionally my voice drifts into the background of your mind, like the radio that you're not really listening to. And that's okay. But hopefully this moment is reminding us that my voice is just pointing. It's just pointing. It's not about what I say, but what I'm pointing to, what we're pointed to. Heel in, toes out, cross that leg over. So what we're pointed to is surrender, giving, trust, play, instinct, intuition, breath. There you go. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. Lift your head. There's the inverted triangle that you're to plunge through, and you plunge through with the same hand as the leg that's near your head. There's the leg near my head. Plunge through with that hand. Go round the far shin or back thigh. So round the opposite leg. Back thigh, far shin, either way. Good. And have a bit of a roll about. So you can roll left, you can roll right, but you're looking for little moments that you'll just disappear into. So they're like portals. A rich sensation will eat you. Every human being, I hope, at some point, even if it's only for a split second of a second, will have a moment where they forget themselves. They're eaten by something that's rich enough. Just for a second, it could be the way that the light catches on a window or a puddle of water. It could be the richness of your soup at lunchtime. It could be a kiss on the cheek from someone you love. Whatever it is, it happens every day for a second. There's a moment every day when something's so delicious, or it smells so good, or you can really feel it, like cold water swimmers. There's no doubt they really feel that water. And so for that moment, it's a portal, and you're not on the outside of it anymore. That which you called myself has returned to its source, and therefore that which is really one's own becomes revealed. That's how it works. Release and place your feet back down to the floor. Jolly good. job, everybody. Let's take 3, 4, 5 deep breaths. While we're taking the deep breaths, let's roll over, facing towards this Parinirvana shrine. Parinirvana is the final nirvana of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, or Siddhartha Gautama. Sometimes you'll hear people say Parinirvana. Sometimes you'll hear them say Parinibbana. Just different languages. Anyway, that's the shrine we've got, Parinirvana shrine. And we're laying a little bit like the Buddha, laying in his lion's pose, which Parinirvana meant that he died. It's conventional language for it. But when he died, he laid on his side amongst shala trees. And as he was dying, he was talking to the last few people. Somebody came to see him and asked him about life, the universe, and everything. And the Buddha gave him some answers. And so the last person got directly awakened by the Buddha, even when he was laying on his deathbed. And then his cousin and sort of PA, Ananda, comes to see him. He's having a cry. It's quite a moving scene. But anyway, as the Buddha is laying there, these shala trees drop their beautiful petals from their flowers. And it's like a sort of, like a rain of petals on the Buddha. It's really nice. It's one of my favorite stories in the Buddhist tradition. And when I read it, I always cry every single time. Anyway, we're homaging the posture, the lion's pose that he laid in on his side. And we're adding a bit more va-va-voom by rolling. So we're going to roll forwards and backwards. So the Buddha's body returned to its source. The Buddha's mind returned to its source. That it had always belonged to, that he tried to point out, that you are not your mind or your body, because they change, right? The body that you have now is very different from the body you had 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But we still say it's me, don't we? And the mind we have now is very different to the mind you had when you were like 12 or something. So these all belong to the mother. And by returning them to their source, 2 positive effects happen. One is that you're not ladening or laying down or making heavy the load for the mother. She's like a goddess. She wants to flow and dance. But if you give her the sort of your mind, it slows her down, it trips her up, makes her feel heavy. And the other is that you don't feel that your inherent self is unstable, subject to change, gonna die, like everything in the mother field, everything's changing. Now we're going to take even more of the sort of lion pose by lifting up and resting our head on our hands and extending. Some text said that the Buddha even slept like this. I don't believe it at all. Anyway, texts are like that. They have their own hagiography, which is a sort of their own version of history that makes their founder seem really, really, really great. And we're going to roll backwards and forwards a little bit. Again, breathe through your nose. To yourself. Good job. Now let's bring the top leg into play. So we're going to play Lila with the leg moving between the horizontal and vertical planes. And the idea is that you're massaging your own sensations to stretch your inner thigh muscles, the adductors, brevis longus magnus, pectineus, and gracilis. You don't have to remember that unless you're on a yoga teacher training course at the moment. Otherwise, just chill. Breathing easy. Now we're going to reach for, with our index finger and middle finger, our foot. And by softening the tissue at the top of the thigh, which is a psychophysical thing, the leg might come close enough that you barely need to move your foot at all. The leg comes so close that you can hold without moving the foot. Obviously, shorter legs and longer arms make that easier. Don't hold your breath. If you want to. If it's difficult to rest on your arm, don't forget you can do one of two things. You can have your arm straight with a block between your head and arm. If it's difficult to have your arm over your head, have blocks for your head and arm forwards like this. I'm gesticulating blocks by doing that, implying blocks. Okay, so those are choices you can make. Extend your leg if you want. Now this is called Anantasana. Now the leg doesn't have to be straight. Of course it doesn't. What has to happen is you have to feel the stretches you're getting and breathe into them. That's what has to happen. Doesn't matter what you look like at all. Maybe it matters a bit what your face looks like. What we want to see on the face is a sense of fascination, investigation, surrender, even joy. Good job, everybody. Bring the leg down, bring the head down, bring the knees up. We get 3 breaths and no more laying on the side, because I can't be allowed to lay any more than 3 breaths on my side because I go all sleepy. So that's about it. Come on up. I've already gone a bit sleepy, to be honest. Laying on your other side, extending your arm in this sort of melodramatic manner. I'm not shy of a bit of melodrama. And rolling for the purpose of bliss. Say it like it is. I mentioned the Buddha's cousin's name is Ananda. The translation of the word Ananda into English is bliss. Similar, there's a variation on the same theme on the Krishna's cow, who's called Nandi. It also comes from the same root. So Krishna's cow is a joyful cow. It's a happy, happy cow. I think there's some cheese called Laughing Cow, isn't there, or something like that. So rolling and looking for this experience of enjoyment, which I think you're going to find due to the giving modality. So when you give, it's wonderful because we give back to the mother, as we call it in yoga sometimes. Matraka Kishram, mother field. So mother in the sense that everything is everything. Everyone here has come from a mother. And so that metaphor works for this field, which is a living field. It has no beginning, no end, according to tradition. And everything's created in that field, every thought, every physical sensation, every phenomena. It's all created in the codependent field. Everything's bumping into each other and making new things. Sounds bump into other sounds and make new sounds. People bump into other people and make new people. Sometimes, obviously, it's more than a bump, but you know what I'm saying. Etc. So, everything co-creates everything. Thoughts bump into other thoughts and create new thoughts. And so this is a field we want to access by releasing our grip on independence. And we do that by creating richness to breathe into. Now, I could roll like that for ages because I like it. We're going to bring ourselves up and support our head with our hand, extending the bottom ribs, taking deep breaths. The Yoga Sutra of Patanjali tells us unequivocally that when we're practicing yogasana, yoga postures, he doesn't call them yogasana, by the way, but when you're practicing these postures, that one should be focused on the infinite and one should be relaxed. So the infinite is the mother field. The infinite is the relationships that every part of the body is having to every other part, and our body is having with the temperature and pressures that it feels. And so on. Yuko, you're tickling people's feet again. Bring your top leg up, which is a notorious foot tickler, that one. And moving your leg between the horizontal and vertical with an intention. It's not random. We're not doing this right. We're intentionally stretching the inner thigh in our own way and really looking for a release that we feel in our mind as well as our body. So that's down, I can point that way, but it's up to us individually, isn't it? Whether or not we put energy into that and commitment into that. I can only suggest it. So if you can put energy and commitment into that, that's great. Breathe deep. And then once the tissue at the top of the thigh has been massaged into softness through movement, but also through mental release, then the leg might come close enough that you don't have to move your foot much towards the hand. This helps to avoid twisting in on the medial knee, which is an area that's a little bit vulnerable on the Homo sapien species. And then we begin to investigatively extend. It doesn't have to be straight. Focus on the infinite. We're told in the Yoga Sutra, this pose itself is called the Infinite One, Anatta. So keep breathing. Focus on the infinite means not getting stuck on an idea, which is singular. The infinite is everything. It's not singular. Breath, 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 breath. Good job. Leg down and roll right over onto what I call your tummy. Everyone calls it the tummy. It's called the tummy. Onto your tummy. Once you're on your tummy, you come over to your elbows and forearms and wrists. And stretch your tummy. So use your forearms to stretch back on the mat and stretch your tummy. If you move left, you'll stretch the right side. If you move right, you'll stretch the left side. So keep stretching the tummy again and again. Abhyasa. Breathing through your nose, stretching your tummy, stretching your tummy, stretching your tummy. Stretch your legs as well. So you stretch your legs back so the thighs face straight down. Go between those two a few times. Tummy, legs, legs, tummy. A few times. Good. Now bring your arms by your sides with your thumbs on the floor. You're going to feel your buttocks are toned up. Marvelous. But don't squeeze them together. Avoid turning your heels in. Lift your legs a little bit off the floor. Did your heels turn in? I still love you, but stop doing that. Breathe through your nose. So don't turn the heels in. Resist the temptation. Yes, you're going to feel your hamstring muscles. They're lifting your legs up. Yes, you're going to feel your gluteus. They're lifting your legs up. Yes, you're going to feel your back. That's lifting up your back. But use it as a meditation. Focus on the fact that there are subtle changes. The mind says it's one thing happening, but it's not. It's full of subtle changes, of tinglings, of fizzings, of buzzings. Down you come, one hand on top of the other. Rest your head on your hand. Let me hear you. Huff and then puff. Follow that with puffing and then huffing, and then huff and puff for a little while. So huffing and puffing, breathing in, breathing out. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Just observe the body releasing itself. Observe the body releasing itself. Stretch your legs back again with the intention to stretch the groins, making them feel longer, the top of the thighs, and to turn the thighs to face straight down. Do it several times. Bring your arms behind you and interlace your fingers on your back. Breathe easy. Lift your chest, but still feel your ribs on the floor. Breathe through your nose. You still feel your ribs on the floor. Lift your legs, but don't turn the heels in. Look for the subtleties. Raise your arms up off the bottom. Breathe into it. Don't turn the heels in. Look for subtlety. Look for change. Look for buzzing. Look for fizzing. Okay, come down slowly. One hand on top of the other. Rest your head. Let me hear you half hand pump. Go on. Yeah, there you go. So you can take some real deep breaths. Like, whoa. Good Lord. Those kind of things. Now roll over onto your side. Yeah, that's it. You've done that. That's good. Now come up from the side. Yes, that's going well as well. Extend your legs so your feet face into the midline of the room. If you're in the midline, we'll go the Francis direction, as I call it. Because Francis just did it. Good job. Hands behind your bum, about the length of the width of a purple yoga block, and stretch your chest. So hands quite a bit behind your bum, stretch your chest. That's good. So pull your shoulders back, lift your chest up, tone your tummy, breathe through your nose. Breathe through your nose. Now, yoga is not just stretching. What makes it yoga is that you give to that stretch. That's what crosses you over from an experience of things as independent to the experience of things as interdependent. Not just the idea that things are interdependent, but the experience that your breath is interdependent with your mind, that your mind is interdependent with your body, that your mind and body are interdependent with everything around them. Now we're going to lift up, saying on the back of the heels, ready, steady, go. Good. Now draw from your pubis to your chest over and let yourself pivot on the heels, bringing the feet towards the floor. There's a good chance they will not reach the floor, but that direction is the direction we're moving. And the more the feet move down, the more the chest moves over. But keep calm. You're not trying to achieve a posture. You're trying to meditate. Come down slowly and calmly. Well done. Cross your legs. Now you can let go of that facial expression you had a minute ago. Draw the buttock face out and back. Breathe through your nose and relax. Special meditation, isn't it? Very special. That's a meditation that's hard to turn away from and hard to smile in as well. So breathe easy. So if it's tough love, it's just how it goes. So breathe through your nose, draw yourself. So the idea of Hatha Yoga, for example, which originally comes from 17 Buddhist texts before the 10th century, use this word Hatha for the first time. They use it usually in the instrumental case, that is to say, Hatena. Is using dynamism or directness, direct force to move things around the body. So you've got to challenge a habit by placing something different into the nervous system that's strong enough to challenge the habit. Anyway, stretch your legs out. Place your hands on the floor behind you. No, it's not the same thing again. Don't worry. It's just very, very, very similar. Bend your legs. Bend at the knees, hands behind the bum. Let's draw the tummy in and up. So in and up. Then lift up your bum. You're all right so far. Things are going okay. If you want, travel forwards, up and over. Now, it's important to really barrel your chest, and then your head follows that. If you're afraid of letting your head go back, don't be afraid. There you go. Hopefully that was helpful. If you're afraid of letting your head go back, don't be afraid. Instead, make sure you're bringing your chest, you're barreling it dynamically. If you're wondering whether your arms should feel uncomfortable like they do, it's perfectly normal for the arms to feel uncomfortable, no problem. Breathe through your nose, barrel the chest. If you want to come down, forget it. All right, come down. Come down nice, cool, calm, collected, change the cross of your legs. Draw the buttock flesh out and back. Puff and puff and puff and huff. If there are sensations after that, you can either label them or not worry about them. Like, what does it mean? There's lots of little things in the early Buddhist tradition that I've never found emphasized, and I don't know why. Because several times, for example, the Buddha says that we shouldn't be looking for signs and significators without getting attached to signs and significators, which is a little expression I find really interesting, which means we're not looking for, what does this mean? This sensation. What does it mean about me? What does it mean about the future? Is it supposed to be this way? The feeling in the arms. Will I be okay? Will I be able to do shot putting tomorrow as I hoped to do? Now I've done that big stretch on my arms. So just breathing, and not grasping signs and significators. It doesn't have to mean anything. It's just like it is. Movements and breath. Remember, the project is flow. Movements and breath. Remember, the project is flow. Komodo dragons have always fascinated me. We're going to do what I think of as the down-faced dog Komodo dragon, because it's sort of wide. They're kind of big, wide lizards. So we're doing a down-faced dog with our hands and feet very, very wide. Very, very wide. And that, I hope, gives you space to explore. So explore movements left, explore movements right, explore the breath, keep the jaw passive, pad your hands into a deeper weave into the mat. Some people find it useful to bend and extend the knees, others find it useful to move the pelvis. We want to get flow going on everywhere, mentally, physically, and everywhere in the body. I used to love B.K.S. Iyengar when he used to say, you want to feel it in each and every part of your body. So it's good to scan through. What's it like in the lower back? What's it like in the front thighs? I want to feel intelligence, he used to say, everywhere. Absolutely beautiful expression. Come down, slow, calm, and easy. Put 2 blocks ahead of you, long side to long side. If you haven't got 2 blocks, I can bring them for you. Looks like you have. Long side to long side. Long side to long side. Long side to long side. Very good. And then cross your legs on the blocks after folding your mat over at the end. And then you cross your legs. If at home you haven't got blocks, buy some. That's the first thing I say. And the second thing I'll say is if you haven't got them now, you can use like a stack of blankets or something. Just make a platform that's level for your legs. And then buttocks tuck under, elbows down, buttocks tuck under again, elbows come out to the side. Surprisingly easy. Some people like to stretch their arms out to the side or have them on the ribs. I quite enjoy stretching the arms over the head, but of course, many of us are very, very stiff in the shoulders, understandably. But understand that everything's made of little bubbles, in a sense. Everything's sort of fizzing and changing all the time. If we look at the way that material substance is held together, the way atoms are held together, the actual stuff that we're made of, it's through the strong nuclear force. And the strong nuclear force is transmitted by little particles called mesons or mesons. I don't know, mesons, M-E-S-O-N. And mesons are amazing because they pop out of nowhere. They're created by nothing. They transmit the strong nuclear force in the, thousands and thousands are produced within a single second. and then they disappear back into nothing. So the thing that holds us together is absolutely nothing. So when we feel that the body is this way or that way, know that it's mostly, atoms are mostly space. That's something perhaps you know, I'm sure you know already. And that they are only held together by the transmission of the strong nuclear force transmitted by a particle that is created out of nothing. There's no energy that makes it. It seems that the universe can lend energy for if only for a very, very, very short period of time. It could just lend it out of nowhere. And a particle can manifest, do a job, and then disappear back. All of that I said because if your shoulders feel stiff, know that lots of little movements repeated can change everything. That the body is not a fixed thing, neither is the mind. In fact, the body and the mind are a moment leading to another moment, a moment that arises and disappears, leading to another moment that arises and disappears. In Buddhism, the parallel to the whole thing is called dhammas. Dhammas are little particles of reality that appear and then disappear completely. And then another one appears and disappears completely. And we're made up of dhammas, little moments of reality. They appear, disappear, and then another appears, disappears. This means that everything's possible. Yeah. I'm not saying you can jump off the building and fly, just to make that clear. Okay, cross your legs the other way. Everything's possible in the sense that where it felt like the body couldn't move, it can. Where it feels like the mind is stuck, it doesn't have to be. Where it feels like you want to develop a skill that seems impossible to gain, it's possible. So the other leg's crossed in front now. We're studying in the sense of absorption. Relax your neck. Relax your neck. Let the neck relax. Studying in yoga is synonymous with love. In yoga, sensations are treated with love because love wants to know, doesn't it? The thing about love is it wants to know. Good job. Bring your arms forwards, legs back together, feet onto the support. Scoot your buttocks under. Now let's see if we can shimmy closer to our lift by using what I call the tricep shimmy. So you use your triceps on the floor and you shimmy yourself close into your blocks, as close as you can to your blocks. That's the tricep shimmy. Stretch your arms towards your feet and hold your yoga mat firmly. Get a really good hold. Breathe through your nose. Use the yoga mat to pull your shoulders away from your ears. Don't hold your breath. Do soften your eyes. Relax your neck. Relax wherever you can relax. Inside the knees, the back of the neck, the lower back, and the attitude. Nothing is coming. Everything is now. Lift the bum up in the now. So as the bum lifts, you can move it left and right and up and down. You can shake it, tilt it, bounce it, sway it. The idea is incorporation, bringing together the various cells of the back. So if it feels good to keep it low and keep it swinging, it's a song, isn't it? Swing low, that song. Anyway, you can do that. And if you want, you can go higher. You can turn the arms out. So going higher requires turning the arms out, still holding the mat, and still perhaps movement up, down, left, right, to massage and release, and to create a sense of flow through the muscles, through the blood. The hyaluronic acid within the fascia begins to move, to increase, and so the fascial tissues glide amongst each other, against each other. They don't catch, it becomes smooth, 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 fluid, smooth, flowing, breath-centered. Lower yourself down, float down like a spring blossom floating down. Floating down. Let go of your yoga mat. Extend your neck if you need to. Stretch your arms out. Take 5 deep breaths. 5 deep breaths. Let go, let go, let go. Lift your feet up off your blocks. Pop your hands behind your head. A little homage, which itself is a homage, in a late Hatha text, they practice a pose called Harinasana. The text is called the Hatha Vyasa Padati. And Harinasana means the deer pose. The instructions in the text say, we're not going to do this, but they say stand up and then kick your own buttocks with both your heels simultaneously. So you just jump up, and that's called the deer pose, right? Now, for obvious reasons, we're not going to do that, but we're going to kick our own buttocks with our heels instead. Now, this is a sort of version of an earlier practice called Mahaveda. Mahaveda is where you press or tap around the pelvic floor to begin to nudge or encourage energy to go up. Energy, you could say awareness, up into the central channel. So we're tapping around the buttocks, but also the pelvic floor. And the purpose is very important, you keep that in mind, is to tap energy into the central channel, to sort of nudge it. Energy, remember, can also just mean awareness, right? So tapping the pelvic floor with the appropriate amount of care and respect. And keeping clear in your mind, you're nudging energy into the central channel, which is a channel you imagine in front of your spine. And you really feel it. Okay, and then slowly let that tapping come to a stillness, and then finally bring your feet down. Take a deep breath in, followed by a deep breath out. And then another, and another, and another, and another. Release your hands from behind your head and roll over. Come up from the side. Take 2 blocks, dos bloques in Espanol. 1 blanket. What's blanket in Spanish? Manta? Something like that. If you haven't got blankets and blocks, we can get them for you. Sitting on those blocks, here you go. Sitting on those blocks with a blanket underneath your shins, your shinlets, as I like to call them today. Never called them that before. Sa Lung Tulkur is a collection of Tibetan words. The blanket goes like that. The buttock flesh is drawn out and back. That's it. So taking a few deep breaths. Focus on your throat chakra. It's very important to know that the yoga texts never, ever, ever say that chakras exist, ever. They use the third person optative forms of various words like chinta, which means to think, so you think about the chakras, or dhyana, which is where you concentrate on the chakras, or bhava, where you create the chakras, and nadis and energy. So that's the only way that it ever appears in any of the texts that talk about these things in the South Asian tradition. Nobody ever says they exist, but they say you should make them. So then people often ask, are the chakras and nadis real? They are super real. That is to say, they're not real in the ordinary sense, but they're super real because we manufacture, we make them, and we relate to them with our own energies here and now. So that's a bit of a pep talk. And we're going to do, as I mentioned, Tsa Lung Tru Kor. Tsa means energy. It's equivalent to the Sanskrit word prana. It means energy channels, equivalent to the word nadi. Lung means energy, equivalent to the word prana. True core means magical mandala, or circle. So it's a circuit of practices. So the first one we're going to do is for the throat area. We're going to breathe and rebreathe, which means you take a bit of the inhale, a bit more of the inhale, a bit more of the inhale into the throat chakra area, and you hold it, like you're holding energy. And then you massage that area of energy with simple and small circles. If you see this practice done by Tibetans, they do big circles, but I don't think they're healthy. So you do small circles 3 times, 3 directions. But the important thing is you're imagining that you're massaging this energy in the throat. Yeah. So let's do that first of all. So we're going to breathe and rebreathe and rebreathe, and then hold our breath as we do the circles. As you breathe out, imagine breathing out through the crown of your head, all the way through that area. We're going to do that one more time. This time, when we breathe out, we're going to send it even more dynamically. So here's a quick, brief demonstration. Like that. Okay. So let's say 3 cycles each direction and 3 times. So one direction, the other direction, same direction, and then energy. We're clearing this whole channel. So the throat, Ajna chakra, and the crown area as well. Let's take our breaths. And we're encouraged to sit in what the Tibetans call Rigpa. You'll see it spelled differently because not many people know how to pronounce Tibetan. Tibetans do, obviously. So sometimes it's spelled with a C, sometimes it's spelled with a K, sometimes it's spelled with a G. It's just people trying to approximate the sound. Rigpa. Anyway, the next practice is for the heart area. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to breathe and rebreathe and rebreathe and hold the breath. And then once we've done that, we're going to take the following actions. Okay, so I'll just show you. So I shorten it to 3 each time. 3 of those. 3, 3. The thing I see, the mistake I see people making with their hands is that when they do the chest thing, their hands kind of move around. The hands just stay still. And then you're massaging the energy you've kept in your heart. Can you see how I'm massaging the energy? You massage energy. And similarly with this movement, the idea is that you're working on the heart. This isn't a sort of shoulder exercise, this is for the energy in the heart. Okay, so let's do that. Now we're going to do 2, 3 steps, and then hold the breath and do 3 each time. We'll start with the 1, and then we'll see how we go. So let's go. Let's breathe in. You're strengthening the heart chakra. Sending Rigpa after that. It's quite easy to sing. Rigpa means non-dual. So if you imagine a clock with, 12, 3, 9, 6. There's a middle point, which is neither 12 nor 6, nor 3 nor 9, the middle, or a compass of north and south, east and west. Neither north nor south, or east or west. So that those polarities are like wanting, not wanting, reactive, reactions. Let's do the same thing at one time, more. While you're sitting and recovering, I'll describe the next practice, which requires the vase retention, it's called, which is where you imagine your diaphragm going down, your pelvic floor going up. So they sort of squeeze together around the central point, which is the navel chakra. So apart from that, it's quite simple. So you breathe and re-breathe into the navel chakra, just so. Make the vase retention, can't speak in here. Make the vase retention, so that's this, the diaphragm's going down anyway, just imagine it, and the pelvic floor going up. And then you just take these little rolls. But the important thing is you've got this imaginal vase retention, and that you're imagining that you're massaging the energy you're keeping there in the form of the breath. It doesn't work if you don't imagine it or you don't try to think about it. You've got to create that. So let's do that. Breathing, re-breathing into the navel. Vase retention from below and above, holding energy, and then cycling while holding the breath. Imagine that vase retention, keeping the energy in another direction. Direction. One more of the same. This time when we breathe out, we can imagine we're breathing out through the navel. Okay? So, there are two more practices, but I'm only going to teach you one of them. The other one's called the secret pathway. I'm not going to not teach it because it's secret, because I haven't got time. And the last one's called the all-over energy, and it's one we do quite often. So this will be breathing into the pelvic floor area, re-breathing. So this is where we imagine 3 channels all co-terminate at the pelvic floor. So these 3 channels are the central channel, left, right channel. And we breathe in and we're going to hold the breath at the pelvic floor, and then we're going to take the following actions. And imagine you're breathing out through your skin. Now I did 5 on each side, too long, probably. So let's do 3 bows and arrows. Remember when you fire a bow and arrow, you push and pull, like that. And what else is there to say? When you're clapping your hands together, you imagine you're making energy. The reason I smirked a bit when I was doing the demonstrations was because I thought to myself, oh, you're watching a grown man having a bath, because that's what's happening. You're having a bath in the energy. So, armpits, back of the ears, So it's like it sparkles in your hands and you're putting that all over your body. That's the energy. It's fun.
Okay, let's do it. So breathing into pelvic floor. Perhaps you can feel sparkles all over the body, or tingling, or energy, some kind. Buzzing, fizzing, tingling, vibration. 3 rounds of what's called Bhramari breathing with Shanmukhi Mudra. Here's a demonstration, don't do it, just watch. Yeah, closing the eyes in a minute, not now. Closing the tragus in a minute, not now. Taking a deep breath in and out with open nostrils. Before practicing 3 rounds with partially closed nostrils for the inhale and exhale. The only difference between the inhale and exhale is hum. Like that until you finish breathing out. So 3 rounds, Bhramari, when you're ready. Taking your mudra, deep breath in and out through open nostrils to begin, and it's partially closed nostrils, but in and out breath, hummed exhales. Lay on your back as if you were dead. Our final practice is a Sanketa from the Dattatreya Yoga Shastra. Dattatreya Yoga Shastra is a Hatha Yoga text, probably written around 1250. Find a place you can be on your own where you don't have to be anybody. Don't have to be anyone's partner, employer, employee, family member, political group of a political party, religious affiliation, social group. And laying on your back as if you were dead with limbs loose, melting. Limbs loose, melting.
into your body. Moving your toes, fingers. Taking little stretches in front. Roll onto your side, with this side. Roll easy again. Roll. Get in a bit of light and colour. Gentle light. Slow and easy. Bring yourself up on the side. If you agree with the following sentence, follow it as I will with the home, which means I agree. And follow that with 30 seconds, just scanning as it were with your mind's eye. Representations of living beings, whether it be birds or animals or whatever. May any benefit that we've gained in acting this way go with the alleviation of the suffering. Oh. Means if you might think of suffering in any way, being too cold, too warm, hungry, thirsty, lonely, sure. So much for coming, I really appreciate it. Do us a favour. And the light blue mats, if you wouldn't mind taking those downstairs, put them outside the room, just so really this one, that'd be great. And also the brick blocks. Everything else can go back in the cupboard as usual. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Good to see you. Happy well. Great to see you.